Hi, my name is Urie, Suhr, and today I'm going to tell you about how I recruit next on the RecTech podcast.
Welcome to RecTech, the podcast where recruiting and technology intersect. Each month, you'll hear from vendors shaping the recruiting world, along with recruiters who'll tell you how they use technology to hire talent. Now, here's your host, the mad scientist of online recruiting, Chris Russell.
It is time once again for RecTech, the only podcast that helps employers and recruiters connect with more candidates through technology-inspired conversations. Today's show is a recruiter edition. This episode of RecTech is sponsored by the team at Lever, providing a modern take on the applicant tracking system. Lever combines ATS and CRM functionality in a single, powerful platform to help you source, nurture, and manage your candidates all in one place. They offer a brand new job site, custom sourcing tools, great metrics, email and calendar integration, along with a host of other benefits that your recruiting team will love to use. And best of all, their deceptively simple interface means that hiring managers and applicants will also love it. To find out how Lever can help you both accelerate and humanize hiring, visit lever.co/RecTech. That's our special page there. That's lever.co/RecTech, RECTECH. Lever is where ATS meets CRM. And just a few reminders before we get started today. The show is now syndicated on the HR Podcasters Network. If you head over to hrpodcasters.com, you can find this show and discover over 20 others that discuss HR and recruiting related topics. It's a kind of a tool that I put together for myself just to keep track of the industry. And it's got an email today from a listener. She's like, "Thank you for putting this together so I can go hear all these new shows out there because I'm a podcast junkie," she said. So thanks for the note, Nancy. Mm-hmm. And if you're willing to come on a guest and talk about your recruiting and your technology, then email me at chris@rectechmedia.com. All right, let's get to our guest. Urie Suhr is the Director of Talent Acquisition for New York City-based Collective Eye, a tech company that modernizes the sales organizations of 400 to 500 clients through artificial intelligence and buyer insights. I saw her speak on a panel recently, a few months ago, sponsored by Intello in the city, and thought she had some interesting things to say. So I wanted to bring her on the show, and here she is. Urie, welcome to RecTech.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on your show.
No, it's a pleasure, and glad we got a chance to talk. I didn't get a chance to meet you at the at that event that night, but you definitely had some good things to say on the panel. I thought were interesting, so thought it'd make for a great podcast today. So looking forward to it.
Likewise.
Yeah. So first of all, how's recruiting treating you these days? What's new in the world of New York City recruiting, tech recruiting too?
Yeah, so recruiting is treating me very well. It's actually pretty good. Quite busy as always, but nonetheless, just really happy to see the needle move forward, especially in the landscape of how, particularly in technical recruitment is nowadays.
Yep.
Always a huge win when you place talent in all the hard-to-fill spots. But also to layer to that, it's really nice to see progress being made on a team when you're working internally with, engineering teams and, how you implement effective recruiting strategies. And when you put that in place, like what kind of it's a huge sense of accomplishment when you see that, when you actually see the progress between how, a recruiter worked with a certain team and then how that changed, in such a short amount of time when you do effectively apply, great strategies.
Yeah. Tell us what types of roles you're hiring for today. Can you give us a sense of that?
In the current sense, I do heavily focus on data science and big data, primarily all the technical roles. But we do, I actually work on other roles as well. But my primary is definitely focused on data science and big data. Okay.
It's probably one of the harder jobs to fill these days, I assume.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very, very hard.
I mean, what's your? Let's talk about your candidate pool there. It must be pretty small, and you're the only recruiter there, correct?
It is. So I guess how I should explain this is I was actually brought on as a director of talent to really redesign what the recruitment team would look like. Mm-hmm. So while I'm the first one in the door, my team will look a little bit different in the future terms, and how that team is going to grow. But for now, yes, it is just me. And as far as the talent pipeline for roles like data science or machine learning, NLP, and big data, it is very niche. However, there's definitely candidates out there. It's just about really identifying, not based on the title or things, but there's strategies of to look for this is what this talent is, mm-hmm. and how they can really fit that role.
Yeah, and you have to go out and source these people, right? They're not knocking on your door, or are they?
Yes. This is very, very heavily dependent on sourcing.
Yeah. What's your like for a big data job? What's your pitch to them? Could you kind of give us a sense of that?
Yeah, pitch in the sense of
like
you mean like
your first phone call,
like how I
or
approach it?
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so what I always like to do, and the strategy that's always worked for me, especially technical candidates, right? And especially candidates that are getting and receiving, countless emails of opportunities and why work here, why work there, things like that. When I do, connect with a candidate, it's always important for me to not go first and talk about the opportunity that I have and, inundate them with too much information. Mm-hmm. I always like to have them go first. I always ask about their journey because, in a sense, this is all, especially in the industry in data, right? And the way that our industry is moving, I think it's really interesting. There's a lot of cool things to be learned through a candidate and things like that, or especially like how they got into the position they're in the first place that makes them that, really special talent. So I always, the opening pitch is always just letting them go first and, have them share the journey with me and, give me the detail and, tell me about like, all the things that they've experienced being in that role.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of, I hear a lot of talk among recruiters just about recruiting tech people. In that, a lot of them don't like recruiters. What is your sense of what you hear from candidates overall in terms of how recruiters approach them and what they're talking about?
Yeah, that's actually that's a great question. I feel, how do I say this? So I feel like I'm very fortunate throughout my career in recruitment. I shouldn't say I've never, but I've been fortunate enough that candidates. I've never had a really bad or negative experience with candidates. Mm-hmm. And it's because of the fact that, when I reach out to them, it's really not about like, trying to quote unquote sell the opportunity or, how I reach out to them, just really filling, messages and emails with jargon. I really try to bring my authentic self and say, I'm very interested in this, opportunity that I'm working on, and this is what I want to share to you. And based off of, their background, I'm really interested in hearing about them and what, makes them unique in that space and just like, just really trying to relate and connect to the candidate. So yes, countless times over, every time I connect with a candidate, it is a little bit hesitant. It is a little bit, what's this all about? I've got 5 minutes kind of thing. But over time, it's really, for me, my experience has been is just always try to, do your best, always find innovative ways. There's not going to be a set way you're going to reach out to someone. Just really try to stay on top of like the number one goal of, being consistent in how you want to reach out to them, but how authentic you're bringing your authentic self to them. Yeah. That's been always a key ingredient for me, and it's worked well. I
like that. Just, being human, I think is the underlying theme there,
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
I cannot express how important that is.
Yeah. Talk about a little more of the challenges of, being a kind of a solo talent practitioner there. I mean, what are your major challenges? I know time is one, and what are some tips you have to kind of overcome that? Because I think your situation is not unique. It's I think a lot of companies out there have a small recruiting team, whether it's one or two or whatever. Just talk about that challenge a little bit, if you could.
Yeah, so, first top of mind, the challenges is definitely to, really try to strike a good balance between how much I can tailor to an individual candidate versus all the other work that I have to do as far as like maintaining the pipeline, making sure that I'm creating that funnel, making sure that I'm making each and every single candidate that does go through the collective eye process, make sure that they're having a good experience with our company, whether it be the right fit or not, mm-hmm. All of that is measured, right? And all of that is important. And for me, bandwidth is limited when it comes to having to balance a lot of communication. I think communication is really important, right? So when you're talking about how to balance time between what the engineering team wants and, interfacing with them versus, relaying that to a candidate and then making the pieces fit, or we also talk about the character and, I don't like to say culture fit. I like to say company fit because I think everybody, depending on what their background is, there's a fit for them somewhere, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about company fit, really balancing that, all that takes a lot of communication. So it is quite a bit to juggle and manage that aspect. But when we just talk about the nitty-gritty when it comes to recruitment, yes, sourcing takes a lot of energy, and a lot of the times, if you are not in the function of recruitment or in talent, companies don't understand that, how much it actually takes to source someone, how much information has to go back and forth, especially when it's a passive candidate, right? You have to invest that time. You have to invest that energy. You have to really, adapt to their time frame and really just try to, cultivate that rapport with them. So that takes a lot of time as well. But it's also more on the daily tasks, right? You've got, your scheduling, you've got your rescheduling or shuffling, time frames, all of these things, all that factors into a lot of time consumed. So I think that is the challenges
how much time
that I do have.
How much time do you spend actually sourcing, percentage-wise, of your week, would you say?
I would say a good 70%.
Wow.
I am sourcing. It does take, especially the more niche the role gets, right? The more effort you have to put in really trying to find a combination of skills that may lead up to the right fit. And what I mean by that is a lot of the times, there's I feel like titles now are getting just too broad and too general, right? For example, data science, that's a very broad term. But just because you type that in your Boolean search string does not mean that you're necessarily going to get the data science that's going to fit on your team, right? It really breaks down to the skill, discipline, and what they're working on. So, it is taking a lot of time to really finesse and enhance and always optimally, continually change, that search and see, okay, if, you went through your search strings and it yielded this many results, but at the end it really didn't provide you the right fit. So how can you realign your target? And that might maybe, taking away that title, just really an exchange of understanding skill sets to produce the right profile.
Yeah, good stuff. I was on your website yesterday. It's collectivei.com, listeners, for those of you listening. First of all, a really cool looking site. It's kind of different. It's visual, but it's not, there's not a lot of image on there. I love that background you guys have there, that shimmering background. And I noticed that I always look at your job postings when I'm talking to my guests to see how they, how they kind of format those. Yours are kind of different. They're very, it's big text. It's, clear. It's right in your face, easy to read. And you also have the apply form at the bottom of the page, which I thought was also a great move. I think if you want to increase conversions, putting the form right on the job description will help that. Was that intentional, and did you have any input in that?
It was very intentional. So our design on our website, first and foremost, it's designed that way because we want to pique curiosity. And it's also, it's also immediately tells something about that candidate even that's applying to our company. Yeah. Because of the fact that, we want to, if they are that curious and they follow through and they can see, how our design is and just kind of think in the same way, we feel that that's going to align with the type of people we are looking for, that aligns in our environment, right, in our company fit. Now, as far as, putting that apply button at the bottom, that was extremely intentional because, when looking at, or I should say this, I'll start with why we did that. It's a lot easier and simple to apply, right, to a role. And I think simplicity is overlooked quite a bit, right? You don't want to go onto a company and you have to, you don't want to put in like your social security number, your birthday, your, everything. And then like 10 minutes later, you finally hit the apply button. It's going to negate a lot of candidates away. Yeah. Because, we try to be mindful, right? Think about being in someone else's shoes. If you're a candidate, you have X amount of time to apply. You've already got to balance out your own, current responsibilities in your role. So when you're trying to branch out and you're trying to, think about new opportunities and make new moves, you have what time of day to do that, right? Really, no one wants to sit there and, again, fill out this, very, complex process of even just trying to apply for learning more about an opportunity. So that's why we made it as inviting and simple as possible. So that way, it's just direct, there you are, and then you'll get a message, and then you'll be, reached out to if you're the right fit.
Yeah, you guys have an interesting kind of, I guess, pre-screening questions on there as well. Like if you had 5 extra hours in every day, what would you do? Was one of the questions there. Never seen that before. That's what kind of answers do you get around that?
A lot of different types. A lot of different, and it's really, really, on my end, it's very entertaining to read.
Yeah,
but it's also, it's capturing up front, would this person, fit Collective Eye, right? Would they fit into our environment? And those types of questions are very specific because we also want to see the nature of the candidate's curiosity.
Yeah.
So, it's also for us too, right? To just see, the first engagement of this person, how are they really, answering those questions?
Yeah. And some of those are optional too, right? You don't have to answer all those if you don't want to. Is that correct?
Yeah. Again, I calibrated it so it is optional. Once again, I respect the time frame that some candidates have.
Yeah.
And I know that it could get overwhelming when you're like, all right, I don't want to do this. I'll do this later. And then they never apply. So I don't want that to happen.
No, that's pretty cool. So check it out at collectiveeye.com, listeners. Is there an ATS behind there?
There is. I use Greenhouse.
You do?
And, yep, every applicant that applies on the back end, it pops up into that ATS platform. And from there, it optimizes the review of candidates and also support, the navigation of the candidate through the interview process.
Okay. So is that a Greenhouse hosted page or is it separate? The job description itself?
Sure. So, yes. All the job descriptions are formulated in Greenhouse, and then when it comes time to push where you want to push it to, it's handled in the back end through the ATS portal.
Okay. So in Greenhouse, you can actually have the apply form on the job description page. Is that what you're saying?
So our website is designed on one, but when our website is connected into where the data is going to be pushed, it stems from Greenhouse. So it's a connection there.
Gotcha.
So as far as apply now, yeah.
Okay. Very cool. How do you like Greenhouse?
I love it. Fun story, I actually not started with Greenhouse, like as in work there, but when they were just, 11 people in from my former company that I was at, it actually birthed out of there. So we got to use the platform. We, became super users. We were the testers, and then it is what it is today. So really excited, and happy for Greenhouse to see their growth.
Yeah. I just got my ticket to the Greenhouse Open next month. You going?
Nice. Unfortunately, I'll miss that one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I know Daniel Chade a little bit, the CEO.
Daniel's great.
Yep. Yeah, I'm glad there's more stuff in New York City now I can go to. It's been a long time coming for recruiting stuff around here. Anyway.
Absolutely.
All right. Let me just mention my other sponsor, which is HireTool. Have you heard of them?
I believe I have. I'm not quite too familiar with them.
Yep. They are the recruiter's best friends, Urie. So their AI engine is your personal sourcing assistant. You can submit your sourcing tasks and let them do the sourcing for you while you sleep. And they even let you build Boolean strings on the fly, display contact info for candidates. So check them out at hiretool.com. It's HireTual.com. Tell Nintran that you heard about them on RecTech. So let's get into more recruiting technology, Urie. Tell me more about some of the tools that are part of your daily routine. We got Greenhouse off the map. What else is your go-to these days?
Yeah, so what my day-to-day look like is my go-to are, a list of things, right? It's a combination of like how I source or connections and all that and so forth. So LinkedIn is one, definitely. Vettery, which is a recruiting platform. Worky is an AI recruiting platform. AngelList, of course, for those who don't know what AngelList is, it's a talent pool for many different types of companies that go on there as a startup and that look for a particular talent on there. And Shaper is another. Shaper is actually a really fun tool.
Shaper,
so you can
the app?
connect by... Yes, Shaper the app.
Yeah, I've used it.
It's really, really nice way to just engage with someone on a much more, how should I say this, in a more relaxed level, right? It's not too formal. You can swipe if you'd like to connect with that person, and, you can talk about everything from, what they're doing in the industry, or, they're excited about something, or even, meetups that they go to, things like that, just information sharing. But out of that, yes, the formal function of Shaper, of course, is to connect talent with hiring managers. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I also have certain groups that I'm a part of in Facebook, so that's always a great way to connect with candidates, again, on an organic level. They'll also introduce you, and it's always correlated with, like, okay, there's certain meetups that you go to, then they join certain Facebook groups, and, really just tying that all together. But, of course, not least, Intello is definitely, where I funnel candidates when it comes to more of a broadened search. What Intello does is it certainly has its capacity to, more on building the funnel of, building out your pipeline for talent. You can source in any different types of location. Now, while I understand LinkedIn does that as well, but what I like about Intello is that it's about just gathering that information and then transferring that into your ATS. So you have a place where these candidates sit on a passive sense, where every other candidate could be more on the proactive sense, if that makes any sense.
Are you using the new Envoy portion of it? Okay.
I am.
Awesome. I am. You mentioned Shaper before. Have you tried Bumble Biz? That's the new one too, right?
I actually have. I don't want to crumb on Bumble. They're still in the beginning stages. But listen, I think, to go for something like this or to continue innovating on that, I think is important. So, I will definitely support Bumble and, wish them all the success to continue doing that. But so far for me, it hasn't really worked. It seems that the platform is more focused on the creative domain and marketing domain. So it's fantastic for like marketing, sales, things like that. And it's also, to be realistic, I think they're in their awkward phase because it is a dating app.
Yeah.
So when they switch over, they're like, so to make that separation may take a while, but so far Shaper's definitely been the leader in the space of just, being more on the business end and business focus and having business candidates.
Yeah, I think they were a little more early in the market too. I wrote about them last year, I think. I tried the app out for a while. It's better for, I think, major metropolitan areas as far as the people on there. Here in Connecticut, it wasn't too many, but I did connect with some people in the New York area and things like that. All right, tell me about Worky. What does that do?
So Worky is an AI intelligence platform. And what it does is, over the span of time, as we all know that AI is unsupervised learning, right, for the most part. And so when it can adapt the understanding of how you recruit or monitor your behavior, over time it will foresee and forecast the indication of who is the right fit for a particular role, right? What right profile can be presented to the recruiter. So that platform continually measures the activity of the type of candidates that I click on and I, say yes, thumbs up to, or thumbs down to. And it presents a bunch of different resumes, for me to review. So it is I guess I should start with this.
It's like a proactive sourcing tool, just sends you resumes all day.
It's my mini recruiter. And I think to express this, in brief, so the way I have built out my team and I continually do so, while I'm excited to say that, I will be onboarding a human, hopefully sometime this year. But when I say human, my team right now is, pretty much AI. So, I have the responsibility of, really being a pioneer in, for my company wants to see, how much of the talent team could be automated and, with the utilization of AI, and also see the right type of person after all of that of who I should hire as far as like a physical person count. So that is the balance, and that is what I'm growing out this year. And so, Worky, I would consider Worky as my recruiter.
Nice, you little mini me.
To its truest sense. Yeah, and I've there's many other different platforms out there. I'm starting to speak to a company called Happy. I've used Upscored; they're fantastic, but the Upscored was a little bit more in their research mode. So it's on me. I haven't really been able to fully delve myself in the product, but Worky's done well so far. I do want to note that a platform that I'm incredibly impressed by is Glider AI.
Glider AI.
If there is anybody, Glider AI, GLIDER.ai. I was blown away. Their platform is extremely robust. It is an AI platform, And what's interesting there is they do have an element of sourcing there. But, and they're built like almost like a one-stop shop, but their main, I would say their big sell is that they optimize for anybody out there who has a very small team or is a startup or just starting out as the only recruiter. They optimize all levels of the interview process. Everything is monitored there. It's like a hacker rank that's built in, but it's like a hacker rank on steroids. So if you are a recruiter who's not as technical, it's like, oh my goodness, how do I know, what a Java developer is between a J2EE developer?
Yeah.
They have, thousands and thousands of ways to test for a candidate. The website actually monitors the coding process. Like, say you set up a coding challenge in there, they monitor that. It removes and eliminates the biases of, is this person actually technically apt or not, right? If you delegate that to an engineer, that is actually removed. That bias is removed because the platform actually scores and ranks the candidate based off of how the engineering team or your EVP or, the director of your engineering however they want to set up those modules in that system, they're able to do so. And it, again, takes care of everything and eliminates biases to find the right person and the right fit. You could also even conduct behavioral interviews. It's a very robust platform.
Yeah,
I was really blown away by that. But that is
got video
also,
interviews on it.
Yeah. Yep.
Jesus,
and that is a tool that I'm currently onboarding right now, because that will be almost like my recruiting coordinator mixed in with even my technical screener. So now it's eliminating certain time away from engineers that have to actually, do the arduous work of, having to, connect on a remote pairing challenge or, having to do a technical phone screen. So it's really been, it's going to be a great tool. It's been really going to be helpful for that.
Well, you are definitely the most technical savvy recruiter I've ever met, Urie. Thanks for all this great information. It's been great so far. A few more questions for you as we hit towards the end here. I asked you in that panel what your favorite subject line was when you were trying to contact candidates, and I thought you had a great one too. So do you remember that one? I
do. So I usually put the candidate's name and then / the company, right? Because, whole purpose of that, keep it very simple. If you give away too much or, hi, new opportunity, are you interested? This is going to be great. If you throw too much information at them, it's overwhelming, right? And especially with technical people, just keep it as simple as possible. Just make it very simple. So I always like to reach out, say, hey, regarding Collective I, got time to connect, or just put their name in and the company name. So it piques their interest. So they're more likely going to open the email, right? I want, the whole goal is for them to open the email, right? How many recruiters out there are saying, oh my goodness, I only have 250 credits through LinkedIn InMail, yep. And I have all these, roles I have to source for, that's the reason being, and I've seen a very high response rate where since they've already opened it, they'll just go ahead and respond anyways and say, hey, not interested, or, hey, I am interested. Let's just have a chat.
Yeah. So it's their name plus Collective AI. Is that your company name, right?
Yep.
Gotcha. Awesome. Tell me your best sourcing story over the years about how you got creative in finding somebody that you hired. Do you have one?
I do. So I wanted to stalk a certain data scientist. I was very intrigued by his background. Just everything that, I was looking for in a candidate, especially the wealth of the background that he had. And especially with someone with that much experience or, that is very technically sought after. What do? They turn off all their notifications, right? Or they hide, they conceal of how you can connect with them. And I saw this person on LinkedIn. So what I did notice is the one piece of connection that they have, and, keep this in mind, that Connectifier or Entelo or any kind of scraping tool that I tried, it still didn't give me information on this person. So the only thing that I saw on their LinkedIn profile was their Twitter handle. So I connected on their Twitter, and, I didn't reach out to the candidate right away, but I did start following them just for a little bit, right? I just wanted to see, a week or two, I wanted to see what kind of content they produce. And then, naturally, since, I have a data science background, I was very intrigued by a lot of the articles or, a lot of the lessons that he was putting out there that was extremely resourceful. And then finally, like after 2 weeks, I was like, hey, I saw XYZ. This was helpful. Thank you. Just wanted to express that, based off of the work that you do, I have an opportunity of XYZ. It seems like there's a commonality here. Is that something that would interest you? And that person actually responded, and well, the rest is history. So I did stalk them for a while on Twitter, or just try to see whatever outlet that they have that they're interested in, but just to again, engage with them.
Yeah.
But it's also like a good way for recruiters to gauge that talent too. Like, wow, cool. Like, what other things about them that are going to even be, even more successful in that role? Or sometimes you can also find out that they're really not the right fit, respectfully.
Yeah, that is the textbook way to recruit on Twitter. I'm so glad you told that story. You follow them first, you listen, right? You see what they tweet, you kind of get to know them a bit. Then you kind of share something with them or reply to them, about an article they shared, something like that, just to get on their radar. And then you can, approach them afterwards about an opportunity. Right, so
absolutely,
excellent story, good stuff. A couple more questions for you, Urie. How do you prefer vendors approach you about pitching their products, and do you get hit up a lot?
This is a fantastic question. I cannot express enough. So I get over, and I'm not kidding when I say this, I get over 30 to 50 emails per day.
From vendors.
And wow. Yeah, just all sorts of products, they found out that I'm using AI, or, it's a calendar tool, or, recruiting agencies, or just everything in between, right?
Yep.
So many products out there. And one thing that I cannot express enough, I'm very disappointed in the majority of the vendors that reach out to hiring managers or myself. Their message is overwhelming. And it's not, and I understand, I get it. Like when you're a salesperson, right, and you're just trying to reach a very vast audience, yeah, I get it, that you have to keep it generalized, right? Your message can't be, specific because you have to reach a high volume of people, right, in order to create business. But, number one, messages can be condensed, all right? There's no need for all that jargon about what your platform does and things like that. Keep it simple, right? Number two, always open the line with trying to relate to the person first. Hi, this is a product. We're a premier this. This is a source. This is great. How can it help you? Put time on my calendar. Would that interest you? Don't approach it that way. I wish, in my opinion, that if a message were to go out, to engage a hiring manager or someone, who is looking to adopt new products, keep the message as in, hi, this is what I found that our product does, and this is how it helps people. I noticed that this is the industry that you're aligned with. Does this help? And then just put a few bullet points of why this is going to be helpful to that person. And then, say, let's connect. We can discuss further or something like that. The best emails that have come through as far as from vendors and that I've actually reached out and connected to, because it does interest me, right, is that they were very simplified. And I felt like that the email was more towards about, hey, this is how I want to help you, right? Because you're in this industry, right? They were trying to guess, what my environment looked like, all right, or what situation I'm in. So I felt that they were just trying to be a little bit more relatable to me, rather than just pushing out their product and glory this and glory that about their product. It's such a big turnoff. And so that's why, that would be my best advice to anybody who crafts an email. And again, keep tagline simple. Yeah. Right. Oh, and never, ever, send negative emails. Oh, did you know? Like, it sucks, right? Like, we can't get along. And who says that, these products won't be optimized? Negative emails never work. I don't find that that successful, in my opinion.
Urie, last question for you. What advice do you have for a new recruiter if they want to find tech talent?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the most valuable thing that I've taken away so far in my experience in technical recruitment is that, when I first started off, I didn't know anything in technology, and that's, and when I first started, I didn't know what all these tech tools meant or, all this stack meant and everything like that. And so who helped me and why I feel that I've become successful, as of today, is through every candidate experience I had and connecting with them and sharing that sense of transparency. I remember my first call with my first candidate, and I was scared. I was so terrified because I was like, wow, this person and this technical stack, I don't know what I'm doing, right? But one thing that I did is that I was very honest with them and said, listen, I'm new to this. I want to learn from you. So you tell me, you tell me your story, share me your journeys and your tales about, what this is, but I'm going to tell you what I have so far and what the opportunity is. So, you can really help. We can help each other, right? And I can learn from you because, technology excites me. So, what do you have to say about this role? And if it's not a right fit, could you give me feedback of why it wasn't the right fit? That's how I became to the position that I am today as a director of talent, because every single connection I've made, I think, because whether it was the right fit or not, or whether, they were the ones that were chosen for the role or not, the takeaway was is that I always learned something from them. So, engage with your candidate and don't be afraid to be honest. Say, listen, I want to learn something from you today and learn from them. And they're more than willing to share that. They're more than willing to say, oh, and they love talking about their expertise. So, it's okay. Just go ahead and just be open with them. And, don't be afraid to just be, again, human, because, that's, I cannot express the sense of having a sense of humility, how that translates into connection. And connection is important. And that's why that person will work with you. That's why that tough to find candidate, when you get them, they're going to come back to you, whether it be that current role or even a recurring role for any of those working in the agency. Also, as a new recruiter, ask yourself, if you're really serious about being a recruiter and you seriously want to become a director of talent or, the director of people ops, all these things. Mm-hmm. Why did you get into recruitment in the first place, right? What excites you? And then when you learn about what excites you and what, you're compassionate about in recruiting, let the world know. So I built my brand over LinkedIn from time, and it's yielded me results. It's such a wild thing to sit and think about, and also puts a big smile on my face. So I have a very large data science community on my LinkedIn, and this is all organic traffic. This is not me necessarily always having to source people. I have now very, amazing, candidates that come and connect with me on LinkedIn because I built my brand, because, I care about, I have a very high interest specifically in data science, right, or big data. Mm-hmm. And so I share with the community and try to help everyone, this is the article I saw. This is, what I learned. This is, a question that I have about the industry. And then next thing my articles are getting, forked, or, on Twitter, I'm very active, or, I just like to learn, right? And so I show that whether it's attracting candidates or not, it's just, my own goal is I want to make sure that anybody who is either on the side of recruitment or on the, or being a candidate, I want to, help as much as I can, right? Because, finding a career is terrifying, or making that career move too is terrifying. So I just always try to share that information, but also, provide a bridge to the gap. Maybe sometimes, people, don't have the time to really do that kind of search of seeing what's going on in the industry. So I do it for them. And I started to do that, even sharing that with my CEO or my EVP of engineering. And then, over time, soon it becomes, them reliant on asking me questions, what I see in the industry. And so, and then, layering that with like the candidate pipeline and just always, just being a wealth of information. But it's also because I care, because this is something that I'm passionate about. So I cannot express enough, to all new recruiters, just really, take a hard think about what excites you and then go towards that and be passionate with your community and share. You never know who's looking. You never know who's watching.
Nice. Well, we'll end it there, Urie. I surely appreciate the advice today. A lot of great stuff. We got to talk again. I definitely want to hear more about how you recruit. So really appreciate it. And thanks for your time today. Tell the listeners how to connect with you online. Where can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been my pleasure. You can find me on LinkedIn as in under Urie Suhr. So it's Urie, last name Suhr. And you could also follow my Twitter, which is Urie Suhr CI, all one word.
All right, and we'll link to you in the show notes, send you some tweets. Thanks again, Urie. It's been great.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks, Chris.
That will do for this edition of the RegTech Podcast. Thanks again to our sponsors. Remember to check out lever.co/RegTech for your ATS needs, and HireTool for another sourcing tool. You can subscribe to the show via iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and Stitcher Radio. If you enjoy the show, please leave a review on your channel of choice. I'd love to see your feedback or your show suggestions. Mention us on social media with the hashtag RegTech. I'll see you next time.
Another episode of RegTech is in the books. Follow Chris on Twitter at Chris Russell or visit rectechmedia.com, where you can find the audio and links for this show on our blog. RecTech Media helps both HR tech firms and employers to get more clients or candidates through our consulting practice and online tools. So be sure to check out our sites like recruiting headlines, job fairing, and more to stay up to date on what's happening in recruiting. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon on the next episode of RecTech, the Recruiting Technology Podcast.